This truck seems like he's hot to pass me. Blind spot alert is on. I let him roll by. Roll by, guys. You are higher than the vehicles around you, where you are more visible and you can better see them. So I like that higher seating position on an adventure style. Not only and use the car in front of me at night as a blocker for deer. And you can hit, I think that's definitely 2 cylinders chugging away. So let's click on the high beams. I think they're pretty good. They're not as, they're actually pretty good. But I really like the low beams. Marauders, welcome back to the channel. I've been remiss in not telling you what motorcycle I've purchased, and this is a big deal for me. This is the first new motorcycle that it's the first motorcycle period that I've purchased in 45 years. The last time I purchased a new motorcycle, I was 13 years old, saved up all my money as a teenager, working full-time during the summer in our construction business as a labor and mechanic. And I spent all my money on a 1977 Yamaha DT175, and I'll show that motorcycle in the future. So I had a quest that turned into a total lifestyle change, and I shared it with you, and that journey goal was to buy a new motorcycle. And I really held off telling you what I had purchased. And the KTM is not my first new bike. I bought that a couple weeks ago. I've had this for over a month. The reason I've held off telling you about my purchase is because I was waiting for the engine guard on the bike, the driving lights, the all steel and larger hand guards, and the rear pannier for the motorcycle. I want to just show you the motorcycle when it was complete. And timing just didn't work out. I didn't want to let this go any further. I was starting to get questions, especially on the Honda test ride review that I did on what motorcycle I purchased. So I'm doing this earlier than I wanted to, but I felt I owed it to you to let you know. The motorcycle is a Ducati Multistrada V4 Rally. And this mission originally started where I was going to buy a Harley Davidson. I wanted a Harley Davidson. I have several Harley Davidson jacket, and I was just wrapped up with a Harley Davidson cruiser theme, and my brother loaned me his Street Glide Ultra 2010, just a beautiful bike, and really that taught me how to relearn how to ride on the street, how to ride a motorcycle. When I got down to it, I realized it when I drove the Harley Pan America, which is a beautiful motorcycle, that I liked the stance, the position, driver position with the pegs underneath you on an adventure bike over a cruiser bike. And it really hit home and made up my mind when I was test driving the BMW at Kissel Power Sports in Tyrone, Pennsylvania, on that beautiful 22-mile loop around the mountain the owner sent me up with. And I thanked him profusely, and I will buy a motorcycle from him sometime in the future. I don't know what, but I owe him a gratitude of thanks. That after that day, I knew that I wanted an adventure style motorcycle. I did not want a cruiser motorcycle. And you've seen, I've even ridden more motorcycles that I'm going to share with you in the future that you have not seen yet. When it came down to it, the bike that had the most technology, and technology to me is safety, and being 58 years old, getting back into this after over 38 years riding a motorcycle, getting back into it, I looked at technology as safety. He had more technology out there than any other motorcycle. Two big specifics: blind spot alert It has a rear radar system on it, which I think Triumph has that also, and adaptive cruise control. I use adaptive cruise control in my F-150 and my BMW. I use it all the time. In fact, on the highways, those vehicles steer themselves. I use that. Cruise control, to me, is a safety feature because I don't speed when I set the cruise control. When I'm not on a highway, I really stay at the speed limit. And when you have a motorcycle that weighs 570 pounds wet and has 170 horsepower, it's easy to speed. And I wanted the safety of adaptive cruise control and blind spot alert, and this motorcycle had both those features plus other features. I'm going to give you a fast walk around, and then I'm going to take a ride, and I'll go through some of the features on the motorcycle. And we'll do this looking at the motorcycle. Some of the other features I've mentioned, the rear radar and the blind spot alert. It also has adaptive cruise control. It has vehicle hold, where you'll hold. I've only used it on the front brake, which blends the rear brake and the front brake together. You hold this, press it hard, and the bike will stay in place. If you've ridden a motorcycle, you know that's on inclines, handy when you stop. It's some of the additional features. It has heated grips, which are excellent. A heated seat, both passenger and rider. 7.9 gallon fuel tank, which is large. I think it's 3 gallons, more than 3 gallons larger than the typical Multistrada fuel tank. Again, these are 106. This is a V4 engine, 1,158 cc's. You've seen a lot of people say how much they like to drink. They like the fuel. So having a large fuel tank was important to me. A fully electronic suspension, and that really is huge. The suspension on this is state-of-the-art, above any other motorcycle on the market, and they call it Skyhook, and it's almost like the bike is suspended in the air and the wheels move underneath it. It has 7.9 inches of travel front and back. That's huge. That is just huge. And I wrote this stuff down so I wouldn't forget it. It has quick kickstand ease. It will help you pull the bike up off the kickstand, which is helpful because I turn this bike on when I even want to roll it, because the suspension will lock up and won't move. Also has lowering. When you get on the bike, it will lower. You hold a button, it will lower itself, make it a little easier for you to get on and off. Cylinder deactivation, I'll come around this side and show you. This is a 100 horsepower engine. It gets very hot. These vents, which you can open and close, show you how they close. There you go. Okay, these vents, which open and close during the winter, you'd probably run with them closed. During the summer, they're open. They blow air by these cylinders to help cool the cylinders and you. The rear cylinders deactivate to help keep the engine cool, also to save you fuel. The seats are adjustable at about an inch in adjustment. I'll get to that a little later. For this year, they had better air protection. Again, you have a larger fuel tank, but this fairing windshield is much larger. I've added, I think it's called Pidgeot, little airfoil on it to help a little bit. I don't think it helps on the thruway. Ducatis are known for having a short duration to adjust the valves. The valves don't need to be checked on this machine until 37,000 miles, and the oil changes are 9,000 miles, which that is excellent. And again, I apologize, I had to write this stuff down. I didn't want to leave anything out. 175 horsepower at 10,750 RPM. That's about the red line on the engine, and it gets there fast. 125 Newton meters of torque. I'm used to foot-pounds of torque. The engine weight, it's very light engine, 147 pounds. It has dedicated engine modes. I'll get into that into another video. One of the big ones is in enduro mode. Can't see me, they're in the way. One of the big ones in enduro mode is that it limits the horsepower to 114 horsepower. Dry weight is 500 pounds. When it's wet weight is 573 pounds. That's light for what this bike offers you. The engine is a 90-degree V4. It has 4 valves per cylinder. It's counter-rotating crank that helps reduce the vibration. Liquid cooled, of course. The compression ratio is 14:1. That to me is extremely high, but performance engines usually are. The frame is an aluminum monocoque frame. The engine is part of the frame of this bike. That's becoming more and more popular. That's not such a big deal. The wheels, the front rim is 19 inches by 3 inches. The rear is 17 by 4.5. The front brakes are huge. This bike stops on a dime. 330 millimeter discs. There's 2 of those on the bike, and then on the rear there's one 265 millimeter disc. It is chain drive. Ducati does that for weight. I'll rattle off the safety features. Ride mode is a suspension mode. It has multiple settings. I'll touch on that in another video. And also the power mode settings. It has cornering ABS, which is huge. When you have the bike leaned in a corner, it helps obviously to prevent you from locking up the tires, but also it will correct in a manner where you can still continue on the turn and doesn't send the bike straight. It has traction control. It has wheelie control. I've accidentally not only wheelied the KTM, but I've picked the front wheel off of this bike accelerating high, and that wasn't even in sport mode. So wheelie control is important on these newer motorcycles. Cornering lights, vehicle hold I mentioned, sky hook suspension, quick shift. Out of all the motorcycles I've ridden, and none of Harley Davidson's have it. Of course, the Honda had DTC transmission, dual clutch transmission, and the BMW had quick shifting, along with some of the Kawasaki's I rode. This had by far the best quick shifter, both up and down on it. It's amazing. Cruise control, backlit handlebars. It says hands-free. I'm not really going to use the touch screen or this mechanism to use any navigation or phone controls. I just heard it's clunky, and my playing around with it, I would have to agree with it. Backlit handlebars was another. Hand controls. These are backlit, which they show up really nice. I'm trying to memorize the locations so I don't have to look, but it's really nice that those light up at night. LED lights, engine braking adjustment, which is amazing. Infinite controls on this bike. With the safety feature, you can get into another window and adjust the engine power, the wheelie control, the traction control, the ABS braking. It's just infinite. I talked about the extended cylinder deactivation. That's a big deal. It has a 24-month warranty, and I extended the warranty out on the bike, I think, to 6 years, 72 months. I thought that was important. And the seat height is 34.3 inches to 35, I think, 0.7 inches is the seat height that you adjusted. I have it at the lowest setting. Okay, that's the bike. Let's go for a ride. So let's crank this bike over. The dealer, when I test drove the first one, he said they need to get, the temperature gauge is here, they need to get up to 150 degrees before you ride them. I love this setup with the navigation system up there. It's up to 118 degrees, 120 degrees. Get a little music. 144. It looks like we're good to go. So I have the motorcycle in sport mode. Generally, when it's dry, I like it in sport mode. The throttle is a little crisper in sport mode, in my opinion. My fallback is touring mode. I remember, I've only had this bike a month. I don't believe it has a rain mode at all. And I have it with one. I started off riding this with level mode on the suspension, and it rides, when you have it in level mode, it really rides firm. I'm sure if you were a sport rider you would love that. But I really thought me and my panniers are maybe a quarter full. I put it one rider, and you can see it up here with one pannier, and I seem to like that best. My turn signal tying out on that turn. We'll give you, and usually I do not like riding this time of day, but the quick shifter is extremely smooth and very fast. Works very well. Hopefully in the next half hour the traffic will clear out of here. And I'll resume the cruise control at 50. You can hear it switching. I swear I can hear it go from 2 cylinders to 4 cylinders. But I have it on adaptive cruise control, and I have it at the maximum distance, and it will maintain this distance from the car in front of me. Without, if you touch the clutch, it will shut off. If you hit either brake, it will shut off. It will allow you to quick shift up and down. I'll show you that. So it's still on. I quick shift down in the 4th. I'll quick shift up in the 5th. And again, the cruise control is still on. As soon as I touch the brake, very sensitive to shut off, it shuts off. I use the clutch to downshift. I just like the control of the clutch when I downshift. Maybe I'm over old school for at least downshifting, but I like that very much, the downshift with a clutch. I feel it's a little more calm. I don't know if the blind spot alert went on when that truck passed me. The instrumentation is excellent. I love where the navigation system is mounted. The clutch is, I believe, a Benbro clutch. The brakes are Benbro. Everything. The brake lines are braided, I believe. And the brakes and the clutch are just excellent. Now I'll upshift with the cruise on with no clutch, and she clicks up fine. She does not like to be lugged below 3,500 RPM. She doesn't like that at all. You know, maybe around 3,000. You can hear it in the engine, and you can hear it lugging a little bit. When it lugged, the vibration is almost non-existent on the handlebars, in the seat, on the foot pegs. Maybe at highway speeds the mirrors get a little buzzy. Someone, Big Rock Moto, mentioned that. I didn't find that to be true even at 75 miles an hour. I thought the mirrors were great. I didn't find that to happen. My mileage is very good. I'm at 43.8. I did about a 100-mile ride with my brother on Sunday, which went well. And I filled it up just before that ride, and it was at 45 miles to the gallon. I lost some in that stop and go 5 o'clock traffic, which I don't like to ride. Now this car ahead of me is handling faster, going faster than the Cruise. I have mine set at 48 miles an hour. Maybe if it was dusk or night, I would hug that car because of the deer. I'd like to stay close to it because of the deer. Use the car as almost like a blocker. Now, I told you this motorcycle, this was not a good year for me to look for a motorcycle. Honda Goldwing, you know I like that bike very much, as so do many of you. It's been an extremely popular video. I got off that bike and I was going to buy that bike on the spot. I liked it so much with that DCT transmission. I'm glad I didn't. 2 reasons. Probably the first reason is they are redesigning that bike. I put the brake hold on now. You can see that H there is for the brake hold, and when I release the clutch that will shut off, and I'm on 2 cylinders now idling. One, it's being redesigned. Number 2, it didn't have this year 2024 redesigned. Honda dealers don't even know when they'll see it in the US. Doesn't have adaptive cruise control, doesn't have blind spot alert. Another bike, really bike I'm hot after, is the BMW the BMW GSA. Very hot on that bike, and I actually almost bought one, the 2023. They had a lot of incentives on those bike, and the dealer sold the bike. I don't blame him. He had someone interested in it, and I was asking a lot of questions, and you know, wasn't sure what I was going to do. He sold the bike, and then I kept watching a video over and over again. Big Rock Moto, I'm a big fan of his YouTube channel. He did a, I want to say, an hour-long, I'll slow down a little bit up here, an hour-long video on test driving, I believe in Denver, this motorcycle with Ducati and the head of Ducati US. And he just did an amazing job on the video. It's an hour long. He went through everything on this bike, and I want to say he really pushed me in the direction of this bike. He also did another video on the Ducati Multistrada V4 adventure bike. Different features than this, not as much travel, a little lower to the ground, 5-gallon fuel tank, very similar engine, if not the same engine. And him and his friend alternated on a 3-day trip between that bike and his GSA, and they both came out, they preferred the Ducati. And I watched those videos many times, and I said, not good, missing a shift with a quick shifter. I watched those videos many times, and I just said, I got to get the Ducati. It was more money than the other bikes, but it had local dealer representation, which is important, and the owner of the dealership locally, Bob Weaver Motorsports, was involved in my transaction, and he put his service department. I wanted to talk to the service department about the bike, and service is not inexpensive on this bike, but they explained to me how Ducati's mission is to make these bikes more and more reliable, and that's what their goal is. Their mission is to set out to do that, and they're doing it in engineering them and manufacturing them. Put this in resume, and they really set my mind at ease on buying the Ducati. Was local dealer representation. Big Rock Moto was very hot on the bike, and you know, as he said, you buy this bike, you have no place else to go. It's the top of the line. I didn't buy it because it's the top of the line. I bought it really because it had the top of the line safety features on the motorcycle, and BMW. Now we'll talk about that. This for 2023, this was the bike. They did release the BMW GS. It's now, I believe, called an R1300, and I knew, and so did the dealer, that bike has adaptive cruise control. It has blind spot alert. I'm not going to go around this guy because I'm worried someone's going to hit me. If I go around him, I know someone that did that, like this car. I'm going to wait for him to make his turn. So the BMW 2024, I don't know if they're in the States yet. They released them, I think, September 25th. The GSA, I'm sorry, the GS, the BMW R1300 GS, they increased the horsepower to 145, I want to say, along with the torque a little bit. But they now have adaptive cruise control. They have blind spot alert, and they have emergency braking, which I think is an excellent feature. And I'm sure maybe Ducati will have that in the future, along with other motorcycle manufacturers. I'm sure the new Honda Goldwing is going to have these features also. I'd be stunned if they didn't. So BMW is taking a leap forward on their bike with the safety features, which I think is terrific for us consumers. And you know, that's competition's good. It's good for the consumers, and I think it builds loyalty. It builds loyalty with the manufacturer's customers. I think it's all good. I don't think this is where I make my turn. Yeah, it is. Okay, we'll give us a shot on the street. This is where I make my turn. We'll late on this turn. Let's click up. Not the best of turns. We'll give you a shot taking the bike up to 65, maybe 70 miles an hour. See how that is. Okay, let's zip her up. Try lowering this a little. The first time I took this on the thruway, really there was a lot of wind across my chest. I don't know if there was a crosswind that day or what was going on, or I had its foil not adjusted right. This is much better than that day. Let's click this up to 74. This is much nicer on the thruway. The wind is actually above my head, which probably isn't good. Let's drop it down one. And it's just on the outside of my forearms and on my outside of my forearms and just on my, now I'm a big guy. My chest is, I don't know, 50 inches or so. I'm pretty broad. And I think it's wonderful. I'm below 5,000 RPMs. I can see out the mirrors. Not thrilled with the wind noise, but I'll shut my visor on my helmet. And I think it's great. I think it's great at throughway speeds. I'm growing, and also I have to get used to throughway speeds. So you can see the blind spot alert working now. It might have been working before, I just was missing it. But I think for a new driver to motorcycles, I think that's an amazing feature. And this is about what I cruise on the highway in a car. And you can see once I get outside the wind zone, but it's excellent. It's excellent. I don't think I'm going to make it to the dealership on time. We'll see. I'm not making the best time. Adaptive cruise control. I'm not going to speed to get up the back of a car, but it works, and it works really well. If I had one suggestion, I wish it would set a little more distance between you and the vehicle in front of you. I think the cruise control is excellent, guys. I think the BMW tele-lever front end and the Honda front end ride is excellent. This does not have that linkage on the front suspension. It has Ducati's electronic telehook suspension, and it has 7.9 inches of travel It is outstanding. Outstanding. The seat is extremely comfortable. The seat is phenomenal on this motorcycle. Just phenomenal. So I think the BMW and the Honda are excellent riding motorcycles. I think this motorcycle is up there with them in some way. I think it exceeds them. Now, I originally set out to buy a cruiser style motorcycle, Harley Davidson, and then almost pulled the trigger on a CVO. Almost pulled the trigger on a new CVO. Great motorcycle. In comparison, the suspension on a Harley Davidson, let's say, might have 2 to 3 inches of suspension travel on the rear, whereas this motorcycle has almost 8 inches, 7.9 inches of travel on the suspension, and that just equates to a fantastic ride. By the way, the wind is outstanding on this now. I lowered it 1 notch. You can see a car hanging out on my blind spot. So again, there it is, it's going off. As the car passes me. Beautiful, isn't it? What a night to take a ride. What a night to take a ride. Just beautiful down here. So where was I? So when you go to a adventure bike, not only do you get a higher seat position and the foot pegs are underneath you, and I like the seat position because now I'm higher than the vehicles around me. Where on a cruiser you're lower, and especially on this bike, it's a high bike, you are higher than the vehicles around you, where you are more visible and you can better see them. So I like that higher seating position on an adventure style. Not only do I like it, I'll be more specific. I'm going to drop down the cruise control using the button. I don't speed in construction zones, not 1 mile an hour. Drop down to 55 in the construction zone. So I like that the high visibility for the motorcycle rider, and that you can be seen by other vehicles a little better because you're higher. And then you just have, 2-3 times the suspension travel, more than 3 times the suspension travel in a cruiser style motorcycle, specifically a Harley Davidson. And I think that's just a great advantage. Now it drops down to click down a gear. I think that's just a huge advantage for me, and I will possibly own a cruiser in the future, but right now, I'm just very pleased with this purchase. So that's the advantage of a cruiser bike. Not a cruiser bike. That's the advantage of an adventure bike, is not only for me, the seating position with the pegs underneath me, but you're higher, you can see further, and you can be seen further. The other thing that I like about an adventure bike is I grew up on an enduro. I'm an enduro rider. That's what I had when I was a kid. The Yamaha 1977 Yamaha D2 175 was an enduro, and that's what I rode. And that's what I feel the most comfortable with. Now, did I get to be comfortable on my brother's Harley Street Glide Ultra? Certainly I did. In fact, I'm some nights I miss the bike, frankly. So yes, I did get comfortable with that. I felt the most at home on an adventure style bike, and there's so many good ones on the market now. I didn't even get into Triumph or Yamaha. They make some great motorcycles. Kawasaki is outstanding. I did a demo day. I'll show those videos. Didn't test ride those motorcycles unnecessarily. Triumph I didn't, and Kawasaki was just a demo day. I participated in that. then bought the KTM from that dealer. But it really came down to this and the BMW, and the BMW was being redesigned. Plus, they didn't have the specific bike I liked. I'll click up with a cruise control to 55, and I'll quick shift up the gear. And I'll raise this up all the way. Again, the windshield is very easy to adjust. Very, very easy. Beautiful, beautiful night. You can't beat a motorcycle for nights like this. Our September, we had 75 degree average temperature. It was just amazing. And this is the first week in October, and it's my dashboard says it's 78 degrees, and it is that. I was sweating at home cutting that video for you. I love cruising, lugging a bike around. I love the BMW for that. But this bike, if you keep it, you know, above 3,200, 3,300 RPM, that's okay. It really likes to be at 35 or above. You'll see in videos to come, this thing screams when you go to pass. I mean, you get the 10,000, I believe the red line's at 10,500 RPM. I mean, she screams at that speed to do that. So she gets up to speed quick, and she rattles through those RPMs very, very fast. So she's pretty amazing as far as how performance orientated the bike is. It's Ducati all the way, especially the engine. She wants to run hard, and she wants to run fast. Racing heritage. If you can see the engine, the fuel tank, this big aluminum fuel tank gives your legs a ton of protection. Plus, it's nice. You get a little bit of heat with those vents open, but I showed you earlier with a little bit of heat on your legs. So there's almost no wind on my shin or my feet and my thigh or on my body. It's just the outside of my shoulders and my arms that I'm getting some type of wind. I don't think I want to go with a bigger windscreen because I think it will add to buffeting at throughway speeds, and I am getting used to throughway speeds on it. So, and the seat is phenomenal. The ride of the bike, now this is 45. I'll click down a gear. The ride is phenomenal. The seat is first class. I may have the seat a little low. I might have to raise that, especially if I get the rear. Well, I don't know, but I'm probably going to end up raising the seat probably to the maximum height in the future. These guys are going out to dinner, which is nice. Nice Harleys. Beautiful. Isn't it a beautiful evening? Those of you who are into motorsports will get it. There's just something about a motorcycle and motorsports in general. If you're not into motorsports, it's very difficult to explain. I don't know if my tractor or excavator and track loading people will get it. I think the off-road people will get it. I think definitely the motorcycle viewers that I picked up will get it. It's just something that's amazing. I think freedom. When I was 13 and got my motorcycle, I would say that was freedom. I could venture further away from my house, and I had a great family that I grew up with. But I could venture further away from my house and explore the world. So at 13 years old, freedom was a big deal. Now, man, I'm really cutting it close with Pioneer. I hope I don't keep her late. I feel really bad. At 58, it's just an amazing motorsport experience that is just exhilarating. It is just exhilarating. It is extremely adventurous, even on the street. Off-road on a KTM, that's a whole nother story. Wow. But on road, it's very adventurous. No doubt there's an aspect of danger to riding a motorcycle on or off the road, but it's just awesome. It's just awesome. I don't know how to. I'm using that brake hold again, which I really like. Marauders, I'll get into controls in another video, and I'll show you how they work, although you may have seen it on other videos on other channels, but I'll get into that with you. I'll talk about some of the things I purchased, like the nav, my phone holder, maybe my phone. Hopefully in the next 3 weeks they are shipping from Italy. My accessories, I'll get those and I can talk about those. This truck seems like he's hot to pass me. Blind spot alert is on. I let him roll by. Roll by, guys. Oh my god. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Just amazing. It's totally different in a motorcycle. I've had convertible cars, and it's wonderful in a convertible. Man, it's not like this. Here's fourth gear lugging it. I don't know. You have to insert this in the video, but this is fourth gear lugging it. And it seems to do well, fourth gear lugging it. That you see I'm below 3,000 RPM. And now remember, she's still in the break-in period, 600 miles. I have to get the oil changed. I'm almost there. But she lugs in fourth gear much better than she does in fifth gear, obviously. But this is, in my opinion, quite acceptable. Just a premium night. Premium night. Going through a little town just out north of Chaffee. Oh, Holland. This is Holland, New York. Interesting. So we're lugging the Ducati through Holland, New York. I'm grateful to Jen and Chad at Pioneer, plus some new people, Joe. They stayed for me. I was late. They're just, that family just treats me so well at Pioneer, and Jen. They're just, I bought a lot of machines from them, but I buy them there because they treat me well. Great people. I'm not going to put her in fifth gear. She doesn't like that, but you can see I'll drop her 3,000 RPM. Little vibration, not bad. She's chugging, but she's okay. She's cool. She's saying, I'm hip. I'm hip. I can take it in fourth gear, baby. Okay, cruise set to 75. Give you a little bit of the upper RPM. This bike can easily outperform me. I wanted to give you a little of the higher RPM just to get a feel for it, a sensation. But she's just, and I tried to keep that very smooth. She was outstanding. So it's funny that we're past the rush hour traffic, and cars aren't passing me. Much more chilled drivers after rush hour aren't passing me at 80 miles an hour, 80 plus miles an hour. You can see the gauges are starting to illuminate. I wanted to show you that. The sun's going down and the gauges, or the controls, are starting to light up. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful night. So just give you another shot of the Ducati at three-way speeds. And I'll have other videos. One where I'm really getting beat up. I don't know why. It must have been a crosswind. Something that night, the wind was knocking me around on this bike. I still don't know why. But it is quite pleasant this evening on the Duke. I want to add just my initial thoughts on the motorcycle is that I've almost put this into a sport. This is going to be my sport touring motorcycle. Right now with my skill level, it's too heavy for me to take off-road. I don't have the skills to drive this off-road. I think you can tell it's an excellent, I'm wearing a mesh jacket. It's an excellent touring bike, even of its own. I mean, this, I would say the same amount of wind is hitting me on this motorcycle as would the Honda Goldwing. I would say they're very similar, and I never even had the Honda Goldwing up this fast. So, and we'll get a wind blast going around this truck. So I think it's really going to become my touring motorcycle, and I'm fine with that. I don't think I can get a backrest for it, but so far I haven't needed one. But she is an excellent turning into, I'm getting used to an excellent motorcycle at highway speeds, and just the ride in wind protection, I'm getting more used to it. It's just phenomenal. So I'm going to slow down a little bit and tuck in behind this person. I'm going to slow now. I hate when you adjust your cruise and then they slow down. So I'm going to squeeze in behind them and in front of this truck. I'll kick it up a little bit. So I'll hug this person on the thruway. But she just purrs on the thruway. I think she's excellent. Again, this truck is passing me. You can see how that works. She is light. There's the #1 motorcycle I see on the thruway when I travel. Now I'm in his blind spot. I'm going to slow up. I'm going to slow up and let him in. And I'll give him a flash. Let him pass in front of me. The #1 motorcycle that I've seen on the thruway when I traveled with my wife, again, blind spot alert, these cars are coming up on my left. Is that an awesome feature or what, guys? I love it. I need it. So the #1 bike when I'm traveling that I see on the thruway is by far Harley Davidson. In fact, the #1 bike I see around town is Harley Davidson. I'd say easily over 50% of the motorcycles I see on the road, maybe 60% on the thruway, because they're such excellent cruising machines, are Harley Davidson. My exit. The #2 is Honda Goldwing on the thruway. Easily #2. I'd say 20% Goldwing. Harleys are 50, Honda Goldwing's 20-25%. And then BMWs. Just excellent touring bikes. There just isn't enough Ducatis around to, they just don't have the sales of these other brands. And then Japanese, you know, other brands of bikes, Japanese and so on. But Harley's by far #1 by double, triple the next closest person, closest manufacturer, then Honda on the thruway, and then BMW. Around town, a lot of Japanese motorcycles around town. And of course they're excellent. I wanted to give you, it's you can hear it, she's running a little fat. She's on 2 cylinders. I'll leave the camera running. I get through this light. You hear that noise? So it's 2 cylinders, 4 cylinders, 2. When I release the clutch, I can actually engage the other 2 cylinders. In my opinion, and then we'll lug her in 5th gear at 3,500 RPM. And you can hear I think that's definitely 2 cylinders chugging away. I think that's definitely 2 cylinders pumping away. And my fuel mileage for this on this tank, now granted I rode 100 miles, country miles on Sunday. So coming up over 150 miles on this tank, not even at half tank yet, is 45.3 miles to the gallon. Now you can see I don't run her real hard. In fact, I hover around that 3,500 RPM as much as possible. They are just kicked in the other 2 cylinders. Very smart system. But I think I can hear when it's changing. I'm not sure if the audio is going to come through good enough where you can hear it. And you can see the controls. We'll wind her up a little bit. Maybe that's how I should drive it. Instead of quicking up so fast, let it wind up in a gear and then get to speed. Just show you the controls before I shut the camera off again. And everything, the navigation system, Garmin, it has Ducati on it, but it's Garmin. That changes background for glare at night, so does the dashboard. And the lights turn on automatically, which is a nice feature. It's funny, they don't list that as a safety feature. One more shot. I definitely lost the sun, but give you a shot of the controls, the backlit controls. You can see what those are like. I think they're excellent. Give you a shot at those on this side, and one more look. See the lights on the Ducati. I'll let this run out, but I'm at 7:20 and it's dark, and I don't like riding it this night. The lights are pretty good at this. I'm gonna stay somewhat close to this car because it's bigger than I am, and a deer will see that car before it sees me. Please, maybe because it's 5-10 times the size that I am. The problem with this is cars coming towards you might not see that I'm behind it. So, and again, I'm not an expert. There's so many experts on YouTube, but this is what I'm experimenting with. Stay somewhat close, safe distance from that car, and use the car in front of me at night as a blocker for deer. And just stay with that car within a safe margin. Now I'm turning, I'm going to lose that car. I'm going to lose that car. So, and I'm not going to go around it because I know someone that did not fare well for. So I'm going to let him turn. Okay, and I'm going too fast. We'll slow this down. I'll give you a shot of the headlights. That's the low beam. I don't have my driving lights on. This is the first week in October. Hopefully this month we'll get the engine guard on, the hand guards on with a bigger wind deflector, the center pannier, and the driving lights. So let's click on the high beams. I think they're pretty good. They're not as... they're actually pretty good. I really like the low beams. So I think the lights are pretty good. And again, nothing's better to me than keep a safe distance behind a truck. Boy, you got a heck of a blocker in a truck in front of you. Of course, pickup trucks are the favorite because you can still see around them. And I try to stay in the center of the lane, close to the center of the road, because a deer, you don't know which side it's going to jump out on. And if I'm in this position and it jumps out on the right hand side, then I don't have much time to react. So getting in this lane just gives me more time to react. Something's squeaking, and again, you know, excellent brakes. Buying a bike with Benbro brakes, it doesn't get much better than that. Stopping's important with deer. So that's it, Marauders. Hope you enjoyed the video.